So today, let's talk about a Chrome extension that managed to fly under the radar for years, all while playing the part of a useful developer tool. But in reality, it was a really sophisticated spy designed to secretly siphon off the most sensitive data from thousands of people who never saw it coming. But before we dive in, just think about it for a second. How many extensions do you have installed right now? We add these little tools to make our lives easier, right? But do we ever really stop to think about what kind of access we're handing over? It's a tricky question. How much trust is too much? And this is where the whole scam really hits you. On the one hand, the promise was a legit professional tool, a network speed test for people who really need it. But the reality? It was a nasty piece of spyware built for one reason and one reason only: to steal absolutely everything it could get its hands on. So you have to wonder, how did this thing hide in plain sight for so long? I mean, one version was active for almost 8 years. Well, it all started with a really convincing disguise. This wasn't some obviously sketchy free download from a weird website. Nope. This thing was called Phantom Shuttle, and it actually did what it said on the tin. It tested network speeds. And here's the kicker. You had to pay for it. There was a subscription. That payment model was genius in a devious way because it created this powerful illusion of legitimacy. It tricked people into thinking they were paying for a real service, not literally installing a spy on their own computer. All right, so with that clever disguise in place, let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine of this digital heist. How did it actually pull off the theft? The technique they use is a classic. It's called a man-in-the-middle attack. And probably the easiest way to picture it is to imagine your postal worker secretly opening your mail, reading everything inside, and then carefully sealing the envelope back up before delivering it. You'd never, ever know your privacy was just completely violated. And it all happened in this slick 5-step process. First, the bait. You pay for that VIP subscription. That payment flips a hidden switch, turning on a malicious proxy. From that moment on, the interception begins. All your traffic to over 170 high-value websites gets secretly rerouted through the attacker's servers. And that's when the theft happens. Passwords, data, everything gets scraped up while it's in transit. And finally, the exfiltration. Like clockwork, every 5 minutes, all that stolen data gets bundled up and sent off to the thieves. And you know, the most chilling part of all this is that it was completely invisible to the user. You wouldn't get a pop-up, you wouldn't see a warning, not even an extra login prompt. Nothing. The extension just silently injects its malicious credentials before your browser even gets a chance to blink. It was a perfectly silent, totally invisible theft. So what exactly were these attackers after? I mean, this was no random smash and grab. They had a very specific and very valuable shopping list. And the sheer scope of this thing was massive. We're not talking about a handful of sites. The thieves were targeting traffic to over 170 different domains. And they were focusing on the places where the most valuable data lives. You know, cloud services, developer tools, social media, financial sites, the whole shebang. And just look at what they were grabbing. We're talking plain text passwords, credit card numbers, authentication cookies that would let them just waltz into your accounts as if they were you. And for developers, this is a nightmare. API keys and other secrets. A breach like that, getting those developer secrets, for an attacker, that's the holy grail. It paves the way for even bigger supply chain attacks down the line. But, you know, mixed in with all the developer platforms and enterprise tools, researchers noticed something else. Another category of sites being targeted. Adult websites. And that just makes you stop and ask, why? What's that about? Well, the answer reveals a motive that's honestly much darker than just stealing data. Security researchers believe this data was being gathered for one sinister purpose: blackmail. By getting access to this kind of intensely private browsing activity, the attackers could hold enormous leverage over their victims. Okay, so who is behind this? While we don't have their exact identity, security researchers over at Socket managed to uncover a trail of digital breadcrumbs, and they all seem to point in one direction. And when you put all the clues together, the picture gets pretty clear. The extension's description used Chinese language, the payments for those subscriptions were handled through Alipay and WeChat Pay, and the command and control server, the mothership, was hosted on Alibaba Cloud. Taken all together, the evidence strongly suggests a sophisticated, China-based operation was running this campaign for a very long time. All right, we understand the threat, we see how it works. Now let's get to the most critical part. How do you actually defend yourself against this kind of sneaky attack? This quote from the researchers at Socket really just says it all, doesn't it? We install these things, we forget about them, but they are becoming a huge, often unmanaged risk. They have incredibly deep access to everything we do online. So here are the steps you can actually take. For you, personally, it's pretty simple. If you happen to have Phantom Shuttle installed, get rid of it immediately. And from now on, be super cautious of any extension that asks for both a paid subscription and proxy permissions. That's the ability to reroute your traffic. That combination is a huge red flag. Now, for companies, the approach needs to be a bit more structured. You should really implement an allow list, which is basically a pre-approved list of safe extensions. You should also be actively looking for any add-ons with that suspicious profile and use network monitoring to spot any weird authentication behavior. But I think the most unsettling thing to walk away with is this. The Phantom Shuttle extension was out there, operating, for nearly 8 years before it got caught. It kind of makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What else could be hiding right now, inside your own browser?